94 Country WKKJ. Good afternoon. It's Christina Wolford. Welcome to Real Estate from a House to a Home with Jen Conley of Home Loans by Jen and Mark Sensi with ERA Martin and Associates. And
the most important hour of your week.
That's right.
Right here today.
Most educational.
That's for sure. And we're doing puzzles today, Mark. We're going to look at the pieces of the puzzle anyway that we put together.
Not enough to do puzzles.
Or you're not patient.
Or have the attention span.
There it is. Yeah.
That might be it. All right.
Span of a gnat.
So you're going to go over these pieces to the puzzle for us, Mark.
Yeah. So to restate what you just said, because we get a lot of talk going on here, is that in a real estate transaction, you kind of have to view it as a puzzle, and like in any puzzle, there is many pieces that allow the transaction to go through, and so we're going to kind of break down some of the major players in that puzzle, and kind of what their roles are, and kind of go through kind of the process. So let's start out with what we talk about every week. Is the first piece really is the lender. So it starts with the money. Now, if you have cash, you don't need that piece of puzzle. You got your own.
Well, FTC says you don't have to say that word.
But it says you still need to get the cash out of your bank unless you have it in your safe. But that's a whole other problem.
Yeah, exactly.
But if most people aren't paying for cash, there is some, but percentage-wise, a high percentage have to borrow money from this lady here.
Correct. So, what we've talked about for a long time, it starts with getting pre-approved. And so we help you, go through your application, make sure all of those things are correct. We're going to verify all of your information because everything is verified. We're going to get you payments worked up on everything that you want to look at, but we're going to give you a number of how much you can spend, because you don't want to go out with Mark and start looking at houses, fall in love with a $500,000 home, and then find out you can only buy a $225,000 house. Mm-hmm. That's no way to start your home buying journey. So we're going to give you that number, but we always tell people when we're talking to them, you have to realize that number can change a little bit, but we have to give a number, right? But your taxes can come into that can make a difference. If they're higher, that's going to probably lower that amount. If they're lower, then that's going to raise that amount. But we're going to give you a good number. So you're going to be in that range somewhere, but always, get with us and we'll get those taxes and get you the right payment, make sure how high you can go. We're going to run an automated system, and sometimes you can go a little higher on your amount because the automated system will allow it. So that's something that we always do up front, and that's part of verifying all those things as well. Some lenders don't do that, and then you go into contract and then they start doing all those things. They're like, oh, well, you can't do that because we don't get an automated approval, or we can't prove this, or we can't prove that. We do all those things up front because we don't want you to get into that situation where, hey, I'm in love with this house, I'm going to buy it. Oh, my bad. No, you're not. So we don't want that to happen. We are going to order your title report. We're going to go over all that. We're going to make sure there's no issues there for you. We're going to order an appraisal. They're going to make sure that what you're paying for is what it's worth. There are a few health and safety things they're going to look at and make sure that it meets. But the purpose of that appraisal is to make sure that what you're paying for is what it's worth. And then we're going to prepare your docs and we're going to get you to closing. So it's not as difficult as what people think. As far as for the buyer, we make it as simple as possible. We walk through everything with you and make sure that you understand what you're doing, because I think that most lenders anymore, it was heading that way anyway, but then COVID put it on, on crack, right? That it's going to be, nobody's going to talk to anybody, nobody's going to see anybody. And even through COVID, we still sat down with people, we still explained things. If you don't want that, we can do it all electronically. But again, I've talked about for a long time, I think I know this is the most important thing you're going to be doing, especially in the span of your life. And then maybe you'll do it again later. But when you're doing it, it's the most important thing. It's going to be more than likely your biggest purchase ever. So we want to make sure that you understand that because again, I've talked about it before, I bought a house. Nobody did that with me. I didn't know I didn't understand the loan I was doing. Disclosures were different back then. I wasn't in the business. And I got into a situation where, with a couple other factors, but I ended up losing that house. And I was like, I'm never doing that to anyone. I can't do that to people. Yeah. So it really was the foundation of how I built my business and what I wanted to do for people in our community. So just know that there's no dumb questions. People always say that, and there's not too many questions, and there's never a time that we care to answer questions. We want you to understand and have a good experience, and that's, I think, what sets us apart from other lenders in our area and across the nation.
So there is your first corner piece.
From the Queen.
All right, number one. We'll be back with number two in just a few minutes on real estate from a house to a home.